What were the sexual education disaster stories from your school? A kid asked what popping a cherry was, and the teacher, who was a big burly idiot of a guy, bluntly said, when women lose their virginity, they bleed all over the bed, and cherries are red. Absolutely mortified expressions washed over the face of every girl in the class, and I vaguely remember one girl saying not happening. Apparently some of them complained to their parents, and the next day he had to clarify, but with the most sarcastic only some of them do explanation. My mom was on the PTA at the time, said some of the parents lost their shit. Another time, one kid asked why his balls hurt when he squeezed them, and he said, because you're squeezing them. Don't do that. Well, he wasn't wrong with that last part, unless I'm also missing some critical info. Catholic school was a trip. In 9th grade, they separated all the guys and girls in our year for sex ed. The guys got your typical Catholic school-esque sex talk about abstinence and going blind if you masturbate, while us girls got to go grocery shopping and bake cookies for the boys. We never did get a sex talk, and the next year, 4 girls got pregnant. I'm sorry, what? How did that decision get made? Today we'll teach the boys to be ashamed of their dicks, and we'll have the girls make them bake treats so they feel a little less bad about it. What will we teach the girls? We won't. Apostrophe. What will we teach the girls? We won't. I'm dead. Knowing who ran my school. That's 100% how that went down. This was in the late 90s in public middle school. The school held an assembly and brought in a group of these weird bodybuilders talking about sex and God. One of them tried and failed to rip a phone book in half. I don't remember much about it, except they took a volleyball net and stretched it out so the holes got really big and said something to the effect of this is a condom. Imagine how easy it would be to throw a volleyball through that net. Not hard, right? Well, condoms are made to protect sperm from passing through, but the AIDS virus is much smaller than sperm, and just like a volleyball through this stretch out net, it can get through much easier. Edit. I'm shocked this was such a popular trend. Or maybe even the same group _power team. I just remember being appalled at the religious, abstinence only and anti-science messages. If my children came home and told me about this, I would throw a fit. I don't blame you. Sex education in the States is abhorrent. I remember how the teachers, when I was in school, took themselves way too seriously. Sure, but every state and county differs. My experience in the States was many times better than the stories here. We also had it 5th through 8th grade. I'd agree. I'm from a 3,000 person, Mormon majority town with a 200 person graduating class. Our sex ed was pretty comprehensive, educational, and presented all options. Free condoms, information on birth control, and numbers for counseling and clinics. Somebody asked how 2 women can have sex. The 60-year-old female health teacher told us that vaginal fisting is the standard method, complete with a demonstration for how to perform fisting. I have never once fisted a vagina. I must be doing lesbian sex incorrectly. Someone link me better examples. Becky, come over here. We've been doing all of this wrong. My grandma is married to a woman named Becky, so I'll hold extra hard. The teacher set a dildo directly on the desk of the girl in front of me, and she bursted out crying and left the room. I believe that's called PTSD. Yeah, it was really sad. Was there more to why she left? No, I didn't hear another word of it. She was a pretty odd girl though. The separated boys and girls. The teacher for the boys let us do open Q&A anonymously on index cards we put in a box, and he would answer them out loud. He spent most of the time going through them in front of everyone going, not gonna read that one. Not gonna read that one. Come on guys. If woman has starch masks on body, does that mean she has been pregnant before? Am I pregnant? Can you get pregnant? How is pregnant formed? At my school the teacher talked about anal sex to preserve virginity and anal stimulation in men. Now I realize she was really open to a lot. As if God, the almighty, all-knowing, all-powerful creator of everything, looks down to see Debbie taking her umpteenth cock up the ass and thinks, drat, another one who outsmarted me. Do these people really believe it works like that? I often wonder. Meaning, Do they really think they can trick God with a loophole like that? Do they believe it's not 6 if you get naked with a guy and suck cock for all it's worth, and then let him come in your ass, and therefore you're still pure? Really? I suspect God cares more about how pure our treatment of other people is than how often we let people come in our asses. Edit. Thank you stranger for my very first medal. This pretty much sums up what is left of my religious beliefs after escaping a fanatically Christian upbringing. I find it funny that it's usually the less religious moderate Christians that are the ones that uphold the tenets of the Bible the most. Not exactly sex ed, because I had to go to a Catholic school, but all of us boys got banned less than 5 minutes into our puberty talk because 2 kids joked about a poorly drawn diagram of a penis. We were told we were gonna have the presentation at a later date. Never did. No, I think they were just looking for an excuse. I don't know what they expected. Yeah, it wasn't even the teacher or someone directly affiliated with the school who called it off. The guest speaker just couldn't deal with a couple 11-year-olds snickering at a couple of oddly bushy balls. But like, what did they expect? I can't even give you a reasonable assumption. Nothing about that school made sense. We pretty much learned that the balls get hairy. That's all. All there really is to sex. Oh. Good, I thought there might be more. Phew. One guy in my class kept fainting when he saw any private parts. So because of him, we didn't get sex ed. Dumbest theory, man was missing half his blood, so he kept getting a boner and then passing out from lack of O2 to the brain. Follow up, dumbest theory, he only had half his blood because that one night stand he invited in a week ago was a vampire and has been using him for a snack. My middle school sex ed teacher held both hands out away from his body, palms turned up, and said, "I like to play with my wife's titties. And that's how you get a woman pregnant." Pregnant. Can you get pregnant? How to do pregnant? Once in 7th grade a girl asked if you could get pregnant by a screwdriver. I think about that girl a lot. Well, can you? I found a rusty toolkit in my basement and I don't think I can afford child support. The teacher was just like hysterically laughing, and one girl goes, "Yeah, if there's sperm on it." So the conclusion is, don't come on a screwdriver and put it inside a lady. Guys are fine though. Glad to know the screwdrivers can't get the guys prego. Phew. The only sex education that we got in my school was a 2-week course during our biology class. I lived in a pretty conservative part of Texas growing up, so our sex education was basically just about abstinence and a few of the really gross STD pictures. Our biology professor showed us a live birth every year. The worst part is that it was a video of her giving birth to her son. I never want to think about my teachers either, especially while giving birth. I remember in year 10th some people came to our school for sex edition. They put the boys in a separate classroom and then talked about how to use feminine hygiene products for an hour to a room of 15 to 16-year-old girls. I later learned from my friends that to the boys they talked about nocturnal emissions. Great job, whichever organization that was. Talk about shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. Never heard this one before, but I like it. Let's make new ones. I'll go first. That's like putting a condom on after you already came inside. That's like putting a mask on after coughing and sneezing in the store. They simply decided to stop teaching sex ed my year. No explanation. Once we even asked the health teacher, "Hey, are we ever going to get sex ed?" And she goes, "Do you guys really want to learn your vaginas and all that?" Yes, we did. On a totally unrelated note, we had 6 student pregnancies in my last couple years of high school, and almost 10 more before the kids in my class turned 20. Wild how that happens. What a terrible teacher. My first encounter was in elementary school, 6th grade, I believe. They separated us by gender and gave us the talk. The instructor was talking about genital hygiene at one point. I was genuinely confused when I learned some folks still have that extra bit of skin on their dicks and need to take extra care to wash up. I went home and for the life of me couldn't figure out what I was missing. Later on, porn taught me what an uncircumcised dick is. Grew up Mormon. Dad says one is a lock, the other is a key. Mom says sex is sacred. Any other info was beyond enlightening. Ah yes. Mormon parents seem to often be uncomfortable with explaining sex to their kids. When I was at Bayou, they had a Facebook page where people posted things they overheard on campus. One memorable one was a girl saying her doctor said that she had been unable to get pregnant because she and her husband weren't having sex in the required manner. Wild. The problem is they teach abstinence instead of safe sex. How can two people know they are compatible without fooling around a bit? It's beyond taboo in the land of Zion. Condoms and birth control kids. Yep. Abstinence with a heap of shame for our bodies and their natural functions. So unhealthy. I once read an article written by a woman raised as a conservative Catholic. Abstained before marriage etc. However, because it had been drilled into her brain all her life that sex was wrong outside of wedlock, even after she got married to a guy she genuinely loved and was attracted to, she felt disgusted and anxious when they were intimate. She initially went with it without letting her husband know, but eventually realized it was a serious issue and let him know. The poor guy was utterly horrified she felt that way, and luckily they got therapy and she addressed it. But man, sometimes the whole abstinence thing just gives people PTSD about something that should be a pleasurable and loving experience. Science teacher here. We teach reproduction and puberty to 11-year-olds. I always do an anonymous question box every lesson, so kids can ask every random question under the sun. All kids end up out of their seats putting books away, spare paper and questions in the box so no one notices who put questions in the box. Most baffling question: what happens if a lady is pregnant and has a piercing down there? How does the baby get out? And how did you answer? Intimate piercings will be passed on from the mother to the offspring via maternal inheritance. https://www. Merriam-Webster. com/medical/maternal%20 inheritance. The sex ed teacher had a bag full of goodies as she put it. I pulled out a dildo and some kid said OMG what it. That I swear I've seen one of those in my house. That's so weird. TF did she want you to do with it? Class. Does this smell weird to you? When we were in 8th grade we had the sex ed teacher come in and talk to us. She showed a picture of a normal penis, like one of those see-through pictures that explained each part. Well, in that it showed the balls. The teacher explained what they do and why you need them to impregnate a woman. She asked if there is any questions. Suddenly my friend Alex raises his hand and asks, let's say that a boy only has one ball. Could I still have kids? And that's how we all found out Alex only had one ball. Poor fucking Alex. Did he at least get his answer? Turns out you can have a kid with one ball. So he's fine lol. Does Alex have one kid? No, Alex is only in high school. My 8th grade health teacher was a bit of a disaster in her sex ed unit. She could not say penis or vagina, claiming that while she knew they were the right words they were just too uncomfortable for her. So she went on about the male part and the female part. To avoid talking to us too much she had us watch mostly videos about things like puberty, STDs and do these fill in the blanks worksheets. She showed us a perfectly serious educational video called Gonorrhea. No clapping matter. She did an open Q&A in which she disclosed, despite claiming she didn't want to, that she was infertile. One of the guys also managed to get one of the popular girls to ask her what's a necrophiliac. Is that, like, a good thing? To the teacher's credit though, she actually answered that one straight, though she kind of lost the room for a minute after. This made me think of Peggy Hill. I love that episode. Square Peg I believe it was called. Dale repeatedly calling to threaten Peggy was hilarious. Especially the way he tried to disguise his voice while saying you don't know me, but I know where you live in his nasally voice. Boys and girls were paired to put condoms on bananas, one at a time. Fun times discovering who was proficient and who less so. Immediate chaos as some of the girls turn out to be quite talented at it. I was trying to put the condom inside out on the banana. It wasn't working, and my partner puts her hands on mine and helps me fix it. I remained seated after class was dismissed. Nice. We were about 15, 16 yo, and our tutor, that weird chemistry teacher with jokes that aren't funny, came in the morning to our class, gave out condoms, started telling all about it, and then he opens a briefcase and puts a dildo on a front desk. The guy who was sitting there, Ukrainian and slightly homophobic, literally flew away to the back of the classroom on his chair. That's kinda hilarious and also tragic as hell. If you are new to Tattletale TV, please subscribe. I have new videos every day. Stay tuned right now for another.